KCMO Talk Radio. Now on FM at 95.7. It's time for What If Wednesday.
What if, instead of having you on this radio station, there was somebody else?
John, what is on the rundown, my brother?
How about this one? What if North Kansas City is back in the mix for the Royals?
Well, then Quentin Lucas has to be shaking in his boots right now because North Kansas City continues to, I think, move back up the pecking order of where the Kansas City Royals are going to land. And that's just based on conversations I'm hearing out of Jeff City, where the folks down there are very much interested in the Royals looking at Clay County. And it's not just about, maybe a small part of it is petty politics with the mayor's office, but I really don't believe and have not heard that's the driver. The main driver is trying to figure out a way to not have all the onus on Kansas City and Jackson County to keep both of these teams. When it comes to, obviously, sales tax involvement, when it comes to oversight, if you can spread the wealth, so to speak, or spread the love, however you want to frame it, that brings potentially Clay County into the conversation. Clay County also is, on the Missouri side, the Northland's the fastest growing part of the city and one of the fastest growing parts of the region. So the tax base is growing rapidly up there. And the state legislature obviously acknowledges that. And if they're going to say to the Royals, hey, listen, if we're going to help you guys out here, look up North Police. What's John Sherman going to do at that point? What are the Royals going to do? Say, no, we want to be downtown. This is it. They can say that, but then the state's going to say, fine, do it on your own. Or go to Kansas, I guess, if you want. But clearly, Kansas is not all that compelling because I firmly believe if it was, they'd be gone by now. And they're not. And ask yourself why that might be. What's next, John?
What if the U.S. Supreme Court can learn from the U.K.'s Supreme Court?
Something I never thought I'd hear anybody say. Well, at some point, maybe this case that just dropped in the U.K. Supreme Court can work its way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Because this morning, I guess it's technically this afternoon over there across the pond, Britain's top court ruled only those born female can be considered women. Yeah. Woo! How about that? Never thought I'd see them get to that before us. The decision today by the UK Supreme Court came after a years-long legal fight over the definition of a woman in a 2010 equality law. So this is a landmark judgment, writes the Wall Street Journal, that now excludes, as they say, transgender women, some of us might call them men, from the legal definition and paves the way for tighter limits on female-only spaces and services. And that's what this is about, allowing women to actually have spaces that are exclusive to women. I know it is a really novel concept for some people.
Talk about a bombshell.
But as somebody who's the father of 3 daughters, I'm not going to be on the side of history that says you must share a locker room and you must share a bathroom with somebody with male genitalia. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be on the wrong side of history on that front and say, you know what, deal with it. Because I don't want to be shouted down by the woke mob. And if they're standing up for it in the UK, God bless them, something I thought I'd never see. But I am happy to be surprised and still glad we kicked their butts in the war. What's last, John?
What if the left cared about due process for all Americans like they do for the Maryland man?
Oh, you mean the illegal immigrant?
The El Salvadorian who happened to be in Maryland at the time of his
deportation?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. But they refer to him as the Maryland man.
Well, some of it had a dad to it.
I know. It's like, oh, my gosh. Oh, killing me. So if they cared about due process for all Americans, they would not have spent like all of 2017 calling Brett Kavanaugh, who's now in the Supreme Court, a sexual predator because Christine Ford insisted that he did something inappropriate 40 years ago, but nobody has any evidence of that. They didn't care one iota about Brett Kavanaugh's due process. Not one, and that's just one example. I could find a million examples. But that one stands out to me. The people who are loudest about the due process of Maryland man, Maryland dad, who are upset that he got deported and claim that he deserves due process in this country, which you can debate because he's not technically a citizen and never was. Those very same people who were up in arms about this were also the same people who said, if you don't believe Christine Ford, well, you're every name in the book. You're a misogynist. You don't believe all women. I mean, you know, all that stuff that they took you down the road of. It's the same crowd, which goes to show you there are no standards. It is hypocrisy at its finest. And you can find example after example after example on this very stuff. And at some point, you got to just throw your hands up and say, listen, even if you're trying to converse on this front and try to find the gray area, and yes, I do understand the due process is a gray area in some cases for this individual, in particular in this case. But you guys scream bloody murder about it when your own history shows you're not really interested in due process. If it doesn't fit your narrative, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and play that game with you. And I think that most Americans are also starting to realize that as well.